Internet has enabled citizens worldwide to form connected communities with connected governments. This session aims to suggest ideas and solutions to develop digital infrastructure that enables citizens access and participate in developing services and strategies of governance.
So today, connected communities expect a connected government. They want to shift from government to you to government with you. So our next session today is on the pillar of Digital India called Information for All. I'd like to first invite on stage the moderator for this session, senior journalist Manvi Dhillon. Please welcome the panelists, Mr. B.J. Srinath, Senior Director and Scientist, Ministry of Communications and IT. Rishi Jaitley, Market Director, South and Southeast Asia, Twitter. Sandeep Menon, Country Marketing Director, Google India. Lakshmi Narayan Rao, Chief Technology Officer and Leader, HP Future Cities, HP India Sales. Professor Sameer K. Brahmachari, Scientist and currently Chairman, West Bengal Education Commission. Colonel Sadaram Rao, COO, AP Online. And Vikas Saxena, CEO, Nimbus. The sentiment we're going to explore further, information for all. Explore what that means, understand what the objective of information for all is. And I'm just going to take a second or two to read out what the government says in its mission statement. It says information for all means citizens have open, easy access to information and this is an and that I'm underlining, the government proactively engages to inform citizens. Now, we all know that there's some information already there, some information already being shared, but I want to ask each member of this panel what comes to their mind when I just say information for all, because for me, it seems like a wide, big basket to cover. Rishi, would you like to go first?
Sure. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is mobile devices. And in a country with more than 600 million unique mobile users, it turns out the mobile device is the preeminent medium via which any institution, whether you're a government, whether you're a police organization, whether you're a sports federation or TV broadcaster and entertainer, ought to communicate and drive information for all. What's exciting about Twitter's position in this area is that we were invented on SMS. The first tweets ever sent were sent via SMS. And so the power and the ability to use Twitter to, if you're a government institution, to first and foremost broadcast a message en masse is unmatched. The ability then, of course, to listen aggressively and entice users to respond.
Rishi's talked about starting point, mobile devices, and Lux, I know you have that as the starting point as well.
Right, absolutely. I think to me, information for all means all about access. Rishi touched about access. The level of pervasiveness of mobile devices in the country is actually given us a tremendous amount of reach. How do we actually leverage that and create an active dialogue for the government? That's one aspect. The second aspect is actually about analytics. We can get a lot of information, but then how do we really have some actions around that? So to me, information for all is all about access, analytics, and action.
In a sense, Google and information for all are synonymous, so the interchangeable terms. Sandeep.
Thank you. So I think for me, what information for all really stands for is leveling the playing field, right? So if each and every citizen of this country is able to access the information that he or she is looking for, what we essentially have is a society where everybody can aspire to do anything. So information is power.
Vikas, to you, information for all, in the Indian context, in the context of the government's mission to deliver information to all, what does it imply?
Yeah, see, when I think of information for all, I think first of all, of course, mobile devices, but through mobile devices, content and services which are localized in local languages also. Something which is relevant for India in this particular country. We have a very great platform of messaging and voice over IP. How can we use that platform to provide further features and services which are relevant locally?
Mr. Srinath.
From our perspective, the biggest challenge, beyond the stated mission, the biggest challenge lies in how do we make sure that our backend processes are fit enough to deliver what exactly is intended, and the user is able to actually use that information that leads to some action and transformation. We also have to look at the kind of balance that we bring in between the human presence and as well as technology. My friend from Google is here. I'm sure he doesn't mind. See, Google has made my life miserable at home. You know why? Because I am a cybersecurity professional. My daughter asked me a question on cybersecurity, yet I take 2-3 seconds to answer. Between that, my daughter has lost patience. She said, Papa, don't worry, Google hai na. I will take it in Google, because Google is able to serve answer in 0.03 seconds. Papa is nowhere in the scene. Now, am I being replaced as a source of information for my daughter, or am I still relevant? So actually, my biggest challenge is how do I remain relevant in the context of technology?
Nice of you to share that personal anecdote with us. Professor Brahmachari, I know you're going to take us on a slightly different trajectory. When I say information for all to you, what comes to your mind?
You know, to me, we are overload of information. And I need only information what is relevant to me. Which is not relevant to you, you don't need. So how do we give, as we have discussed, mobile, Wi-Fi, local language content are required to reach 325 language spoken Indians, if you really say all. But to me, information for all is not one way. It's a two-way process. We should be able to crowdsource. For example, I just wanted to create information drawn from the rural India, and I want to understand what is the average blood content or something of any rural woman. You know, what is the hemoglobin level? With the HP, we created a e-health box, which is completely remote connected, and I understand 43 centers are running now. So you can get the actual information from back. So government needs actual information back.
I think the important point is you're saying the government gives information. The government also, more importantly, needs information which feeds into policy, which feeds into action. Colonel Rao, the reason I kept your comments for the end, of course, is because you have over 10 years of experience in delivering information with AP Online. If you were entrusted with the task of, you know, information for all nationally, pick 2 or 3 points that need to be flagged off given your experiences in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana.
Today the technology provides most of information to all, but it's still not all because of the lack of connectivity, lack of accessibility to especially the rural areas and urban slum areas and all that. So that's where we have provided in the last 10 years a bridge between those who cannot access information by any means, technology or simple going to a government office, they are not able to. So we've created the concept of information hubs, knowledge hubs, service hubs, which today you find it transformed into what is called common service centers. That we have been doing it for the last 10 years, and with problems in network, technology, we have surmounted all those problems today. And today we are in much better position, created platforms wherein we can plug and play these platforms in different states, different areas, plug and play services, plug and play information, the models have been created. So the real information for all would mean rural as well as those who are not yet gone onto this internet bandwagon are also able to be provided the services through an assisted model.
But your experience has shown that as you provide information for all, you've got to have models that are not necessarily digital, that can be partially digital, that can be fully digital, because different approaches work in different parts of the country, and then they mature to the next level. Is that a fair statement to make?
Yeah, certainly, certainly. Lots of information which requires instant information dissemination, where SMSs will be the right way. Where printed form of information dissemination, where it could be as simple as a marks list or a land records or something, will have to be given in the form of a printed. So there has to be a kiosk, there has to be a printer, and that has to be given. And today we have the smartphones, quite a bit of information will have to be given not just to the people, but government functionaries also, to monitor and scrutinize what is happening on the field. Those different kinds of forms of information dissemination and information availability will have to be provided for not just people, but for the government also to function more effectively.
Sandeep, do you want to just reflect for a moment on what we mean when we say information for all? What kinds of information? What would be the, the first points of action for the government when it's addressing all of this information which it wants to deliver to all of these people?
Yeah, so if you look at the 3 areas that are needed to make sure that this promise for information for all is fulfilled, I think we need to think about number 1, access. How is this information delivered? The second thing is, I think Vikas touched upon this, right? Which is you need to have the right content, and right content probably exists right now, but not in, as Professor mentioned, in the languages that the people who want it or can assimilate it in. And the third bit, which is once you have the content piece and the access piece solved, is the ecosystem. Because if this has to continue to grow, we need to make sure that there's an ecosystem of services and service providers who can enable this.
What about content, Rishi, in your experience? How do you sort of speed up local content?
Yeah, I guess a couple of thoughts. One, I would say, I would call this the mobile summit. One, because I think every user is on their own journey. Why is it that the vast majority of smartphone users in India don't have active data plan, right? So what we're talking about is thinking empathetically about users and taking them on a journey where you expose them to content offline and get them to come online. I can spend more time on that if you'd like. In terms of content, I would encourage all of us to think non-traditionally about content. The first thing I always hear when I come to summits like these is, this service, that service, this service, when in reality most users are first compelled by digital for things like news, for things like cricket scores, for things like keeping up with public figures. There's a reason why when Rajinikanth joined Twitter, or Twitter joined Rajinikanth, and we had such a massive day on Twitter, many of the users who joined Twitter that day, weeks later, I've heard these stories, participated in blood donation drives on Twitter. But that first step, that ignition moment, the hook is often not come and perform some massy service that we all like to think, because it's in our interest to think that those services matter, but to think creatively about the initial content experiences that actually drive the top of the funnel.
Wanted to get Vikas in on that as well, to just say, A, the hook. Are we thinking about the hook all wrong, as Rishi pointed out? And B, how do we address this whole local content issue, because it is an issue?
See, the thing is, right now, access to a large degree is solved at least in the urban areas, right? And there are applications which are driving millions of users. We just launched an application called Ola. It's a call management software, launched like some 6 to 8 weeks ago. We are getting I think 5,000 new users every day already. And all it does is, it allows you to identify which is a spam call or which is not a spam call. And it's growing. One day I got a call from Delhi Police. And Delhi Police has launched something on the lines of stalker alert. If somebody is stalking you, or a female or a man, they have also made an application. Now, what they're saying is, now since you already have a lot of traffic on this a particular application, since you guys are based out of India, thinking about India, why don't you take this feature along, stalker alert, and in Ola itself, why don't you bundle it? So that somebody who is being spammed by a spammer, not only are they able to block it on the phone itself, but they're able to report it to police right there.
Lux, what are the specific elements of the ecosystem that need to be strengthened, and Professor Brahmachari can come in as well, to make information for all a reality?
Absolutely. If I take a step back and look at, why information for all in the first instance. So essentially, if you outline the information for all, the grand agenda that's actually, shared by the government, it's about providing, great services great service for government services. That's one aspect of, having this. The second aspect is actually, providing a platform in which actually the citizens can collaborate with the government actively or proactively, as you mentioned. For that, ecosystem is important. Now, content itself will not solve the problem. To me, actually, context is important as well. So when I'm actually accessing information, in the context of what I am as a person, I need to have the right regulated content coming in. Is there some way in which we can actually bring in technology to provide context to the user? Those are some of the areas that we are actually working on.
One of the recommendation I can give from that point, when we have an industry you set up in a backward part of the country, you get lots of incentive. Why not data in a rural India is subsidized, so that they move on to 3G. The second is, can we not make, why public Wi-Fi at Indira Gandhi Airport? Why not every post office, 154,000 post offices of India, to create a public Wi-Fi? You don't need to put any much money, because already there is electricity, power. Why not we use the State Bank and all public-private banks, every branch, to create a public Wi-Fi? Because they're anyway doing e-banking. Third is create subsidy for data. Fourth, my point is, how do we use billion people for content creation? Why not I use them for curator? Why wiki creator is in English? Why can't I have what he said?
You're asking the question, where are the answers? Why? So why is it not happening?
Answer is, we need, as you said, something made in India, for India. And I give you one example. My friend is sitting here from the ministry. If you ask government, organizational level, do I have information? Does every information is organizational level? Can I say what is the knowledge content of Ministry of Information Technology? Answer is no. You cannot have a portal where you say what expertise is really available in CDAC, CDOT, all this put together. So therefore, I, as a DGCSIR, I was perplexed. 5,000 scientists. I don't know what the knowledge content. I created the first knowledge portal called Oasis.
Colonel Rao, I just wanted to get your experience on, whether users have become co-producers as well. In the sense, are they engaging? Has this become a two-way sort of interactive experience?
Yeah, certainly. Recently, you must have come across the Hudhud cyclone which had taken place. We'd had different forms of collection of instantaneously the information through mobile apps, through internet, through SMSs, through videos being uploaded in a central server. So people have participated in it, and within a very short span of a day or 2 days, quite a big picture of where the damage has taken place could be assessed, and immediate reliefs could be sent. One more important thing which I thought I'll, for information for all, in government of AP, there is a site called core.ap.gov.in. Any information about what government does of any department, you will be able to access through that system. It is open for everyone.
I'm curious, how many people are accessing it? That gives you a flavor of, I think the point that Rishi made. Don't think that knowledge about what the government is doing is going to drive the traffic.
So I would say we can't build for the power user, build for the average user. Your point about content creation in India hits at an important cultural point. Public expression is a big deal. To create a website, to send a tweet in public is a big deal culturally. Now, what we have to do as platforms is make more frictionless the ability to express. It's why we bought a company in Bangalore 2 weeks ago called ZipDial, where you can make a missed call to follow a Twitter account via SMS. You can literally call Twitter accounts across India right now and get tweets via SMS. And that's just the beginning of making it super easy. But there is a cultural dynamic. My view is that India is so diverse that sometimes people retreat from a public expression standpoint, particularly when you go to other Asian countries.
And I think these may sound like softer aspects, but they're very real and they're impediments. Sandeep.
So, but that said, I think we have a tendency to kind of underestimate what the real user is looking for, especially in the rural areas, right? So we had a program on getting more women online in India, because if you look at internet, 70% of them are still male. So one of the things we did is we went to rural areas and had this internet cart wherein you could have any person in that village could come and access services, especially women. And what we, in our naivety, thought was that the #1 use case they would look at is entertainment, cooking videos, beauty tips and stuff like that. But across all the places we went, the key thing that almost all women looked for were how do I get a job? How do I educate my daughter? How do I get a loan from the government? There is a real thirst for knowledge, and I think the real problem facing us is not that there is no thirst for knowledge, it's that there is no good delivery services.
We're talking about the government making itself open, transparent, all of the information that resides with the government, barring any, of course, you know, classified information, being available with citizens. But Lux, again, important to think about, to what end?
Yeah. While I think, you know, we are in a euphoria of actually making information available for all, that's a great move. But then when a citizen actually, you know, accesses information, gets onto the portal and actually is looking at that information, I think the next thing that will come up is, you know, look, I want to get work done. Information is one aspect, but I would like to get work done. There's this silos at the back end, really, that, you know, where you have a lot of departments actually working in silos. It brings to fore an aspect of, you know, joining up the processes so that the information that's needed is available seamlessly. You know, you really don't have to run between departments and so on. So we need actionable information, and that's something that will call for actually, you know, overall process, and not just about actually, you know, providing a platform of interaction.
We're hoping that the Digital India Summit does its bit in, you know, helping people connect and getting the message of the challenges out there, and many hands could be raised to accept the challenge. Thank you all very much on the panel. We tried to bring everything together, information for all, a vast subject. I hope we did justice to it. Thank you.
Thank you.